Okay, we're going to get right into this because I don't want to waste time. And, you guys already know what we're here to kind of go over. And I've been thinking about this a lot. I talk about motivation a lot, but I've just been thinking about it in a little bit of a different way. And I feel like this is a bit more hard hitting. So I was journaling through the points I wanted to make today. And I'm super excited about this. Hi, Michelle. Hi, Robin. Okay. So thinking about motivation a lot lately, and I feel okay, listen, I've said this before and I'll say it again. I work with people from all different walks of life. I work with men, I work with women. I have had professional athlete clients, I have had stay-at-home mom clients, it's all across the board. And something that comes up all the time is motivation. And what I've learned over this time coaching these people, when I learned the most coaching one-on-one, right? Because you're really getting in there with somebody. I feel like we have made motivation way too important. I actually think that we have asked motivation to do a job that it was never supposed to do. Literally all the time in my work and even in my DMs everywhere, I hear I just need to get motivated again. I just feel the wind has been knocked out of me. I need to get motivated. I need to get motivated. I don't know where my motivation went. I was doing so well and then I lost my motivation. And every time I hear something like that, I have the same thought. I just don't think that motivation is ever the problem. I have yet to find a circumstance or a person, no matter how one-on-one or deep I'm diving, or if it's just a DM, or if, we're in the collective chatting, it is never the problem. I really think there's a massive misunderstanding of what motivation actually is. I think motivation so often gets blamed for a lot of things that actually have nothing to do with motivation. And so, what's interesting to me is there are so many things in your life that you do every single day that have nothing to do with motivation, right? You brush your teeth, you put your seatbelt on, you lock your front door, you plug your phone in at night, you open the phone and start scrolling. You don't wake up and ask yourself if you feel inspired to do those things, right? You just do them. And they're not a negotiation. They're your normal. And you don't need motivation to do those things. And please keep in mind, as somebody who's diagnosed major depressive disorder, okay, and love Western medicine for that issue, I am not talking about that. I am not talking if you're struggling with mental health and you are clinically depressed. Please know, I always like to highlight that as a separate issue. Okay, that's completely separate. I'm talking about normal day-to-day life, okay? You're living life and you're going through your day. There's stuff that you need to do and you don't need motivation to do it. You just do it. It's not a negotiation, right? So it's I always come back to wondering why have we decided that the things we want most, right? Our health, consistency, results in our business, our finances, relationships, whatever, should all depend on whether we feel motivated or not. But then the day-to-day normal stuff is we don't need motivation. So why is one thing here and one thing there? Does that make sense? I think motivation has kind of become the scapegoat. We stop showing up, must be motivation. We lose momentum. Oh, I need to get motivated. We fall back into these old habits or old programming. And it's I need more motivation. Allie, how do I get motivated? How do I stay motivated? I don't think motivation has failed us at all. We are asking it to carry way more than it was ever designed to carry. Motivation is not supposed to have that heavy of a load, right? And I wonder, this is the kind of what was really hitting me when I was thinking through with the points, how I wanted to get the feelings out into words to you guys this morning. I wonder how many months or even years we have spent waiting to feel motivated again and then only taking action on things when we feel motivated. Motivation is eventually going to come back and rescue us, right? you know you're going to feel motivated sometimes. You can count on like you're going to sometimes feel motivated for something, right? Maybe not the thing you want to feel motivated for, but like motivation is a part of life, right? But we're literally waiting for it to like come and rescue us to get where we want to go and get the things we want to have. So thinking and saying things like, again, I just need to get my motivation back. I'll start when I feel motivated again. Oh, I just haven't felt motivated to do that. So it's not aligned right now. Even like blaming like alignment on motivation. But like, what if motivation already came at the beginning of your decision to become that person, at the beginning of your decision to do that thing or start that habit or start the routine or start the business? What if it already came and it already did its job? Like it already did what it was supposed to do. It got your attention. It showed you like a glimpse of a different future. It helped you decide what you really wanted. And then it left because that is what motivation does. And I don't know if this is hitting you all the way it's hit me, but that is actually really, really freeing to me because it means that we can stop sitting around wondering where motivation went. Like it's supposed to come and go. I can't tell you how many times, like in my own life, I've had that feeling of like, okay, I'm back. Like I'm going to do this. That version of yourself where you're like reorganize everything and you make the plan, you clean out the pantry, you buy all the healthy groceries, you buy the new planner, you color code the calendar. How many times have I done that? You think, like this is it. This is the version of me that's finally going to stick. And then, a couple weeks later at best, you're looking around like, what the actual hell? Like, it's gone. How am I back here again? And for a very long time, I made that mean that I just wasn't committed enough. But now it's more so like, I think I just had like a fundamental misunderstanding of what motivation was supposed to do. And that is what I'm seeing over and over and over again. And especially with the women that I work with, because our mental load is so much heavier than men typically. And there's so much going on. And we just like are expecting to feel motivated before we do something, especially something that is like a level up. That doesn't feel like this is just the norm. It feels like that's the next level. That's where I'm going. Does that make sense? And I wrote something down the other day. I put this in my podcast too, but I wrote something down the other day that I have not been able to stop thinking about. And it is the conscious mind makes promises, but the subconscious mind keeps patterns. So they're going against each other, right? Your conscious mind is like, I'm going to do this. This is what I want. I want to be this fit person. I want to have this money plan. I want this business. I want the results, whatever. But the subconscious mind doesn't translate. The subconscious mind is only keeping patterns, right? So think about your own life for a second. Which one have you been relying on? Right? Like if you're relying on the conscious, you're relying on promises, then then you're only going to be relying on effort and motivation and willpower, right? Your conscious mind chooses the destination you want to get to, but your subconscious chooses what you default to. And that's based on programming, right? And I honestly think that those two ideas like explain so much. Motivation lives in the conscious mind. So that's where you dream, you decide, it creates feelings and that surge, that dopamine hit of like excitement and fresh start. That is where you're like, this is who I want to become. But your defaults live in the subconscious, right? So then when life starts feeling like life again, right? You get busy, you get tired, the kids need you, like you feel overworked, overwhelmed, you have a bad day. And all of a sudden, you're doing what you've always done. And that is not because you stopped wanting that new life. It's because your defaults showed up and took over. You will always go back to your defaults. You will default to your patterns when life is lifing. You can act out of the conscious desires and out of effort and willpower and motivation and all those things when things are good, when you have space to do so. But the second that you get stressed out or you have a fight with your partner or, life, whatever, all the examples I just gave, I won't list them again, then you're going to go back to whatever your default is. So that's where we have to change the defaults, right? And I feel like we have just been expecting one really like inspired decision and that strong feeling we get of like, I'm ready to change my life, I'm ready to do this, to overpower years of programming and what's familiar to our subconscious, what our defaults are. And when it doesn't work, I feel like then we make it mean something about ourselves. Like we're just inconsistent, we're lazy, we're undisciplined, we're not committed enough. Like, what's wrong with me? Why can she meet her goals and I'm watching her on Instagram do all these things and I can't seem to do one fucking thing I said I was going to do? But like, honestly, think about it. Why would one super motivating Sunday night plan erase decades of repetition? It can't. So that's what I mean when I say like we're assigning way too much to motivation. We're giving it way too much of a job. And again, weirdly, I think that's really good news, because if motivation isn't the thing that creates lasting change, then you can stop waiting for it. It literally doesn't matter. It will come and go, and it literally doesn't matter. That's the best news to me ever. You can stop making it mean something every time it leaves and you're not feeling motivated. Like it's already finished its job. So I think motivation has one job: to introduce you to a possibility, to help you see a different future, to wake you up to the life you're currently living long enough to say, I don't want this anymore. I don't want to keep living like this. I'm not okay with this being my quality of life, right? I think that's the only job it's supposed to have. But along the way, with the self-help world and the incorrect messaging that does not account for neuroscience and how things actually work, we just started expecting motivation to carry us all the way through. And it's just that that's not its role. It's fleeting by design. So, where does that leave us then? The goal is not becoming someone who's always motivated or always chasing motivation and trying to hold on to motivation. I honestly don't even know if that person exists. If they do, they're probably like really annoying, Pollyanna, like not real. Like everyone has somebody like that in their life or in their past, where just like so fake positive, so fake, like energy, like it stop, be quiet. Like I can't be around that kind of person. But like, the goal can't be that, right? It can't be to always be motivated. Maybe instead, then, the goal is becoming someone whose defaults are changing. Because once your defaults change, remember I've used the if you've ever come to one of my classes, I use the thermostat example, right? Once your defaults change, you stop needing motivation for the things that have become a part of who you are. Like, you don't need motivation to brush your teeth. You don't need motivation to make your coffee, right? There's motivation baked in. You want the result of making the coffee. You want the coffee. So you go and make the coffee. It could be the same thing with the body and the workouts, with the stacked cash and the regular logging into your bank account, managing things in QuickBooks. Like, the results are the motivation, but it doesn't always feel hyper motivating. Does that make sense? My goal for you is to have you stop needing motivation for the things that have become a part of who you are, to shift the programming itself, the defaults themselves. Okay? So, if I could leave you with one thing today, it would be, stop asking, how do I become more motivated? How do I stay motivated? And start asking, what was I expecting motivation to do that it was never actually supposed to do? And look at that. And like, let's give motivation the label and the job it actually has to get you started, to wake you up, to shake you up, right? I've been sitting with that idea like all week, and it changes everything if you really think about it. Like, is this landing? Is this making like, if you really grasp that, it literally changes everything. And so you're no longer waiting around. You're no longer waiting for motivation. You're no longer none of it. Like, that's so freeing, right? Um, yeah. So think about that. Feel free to send me a DM. I try to keep up on my DMs on Instagram as much as I can. I don't know if you all can DM me here, but if you can do that as well. But let's think about it. Let's sit with that and like what would it look like if you no longer were waiting for feelings? And motivation, like maybe that isn't even really the word that like super resonates with you. Maybe you always wait to feel inspired, or maybe you just always wait for desire. Always wait to feel the desire to do the things, right? Maybe motivation is maybe a too masculine of a word, or just not the word. Are you waiting on feelings? Where are you relying on how you feel to become the next level version of you, to start the habit, to do the things? Like, guys, we know the things. You know what to do. You know what you want. And you know what it would take to get there, at least for the most part, right? You might have to figure a couple things out on the way, but for the most part, you know. So then why aren't we doing it? Because you're waiting to feel like it. Stop waiting to feel like doing the things that are going to get you. This is not a practice life. This is your life, right? It's a big deal. It's a big deal. This is bigger than just like, oh, let's talk about motivation and how the brain works. This is your life. This is your life. If you are not a part of the collective and you have not come to one of my classes, tomorrow I am hosting one live. Okay. It is called Stop Starting Over. And it is going to get super deep, way past feelings and motivation. That's like a tiny piece of it, deep into what actually has to replace motivation if you want lasting change. Like, if this is all how it works and we've seen this and we understand the motivation piece, right? We're done waiting for the feelings. Then what has to replace it? And how do you rewire, right? Because I promise you, it's not trying to hack it and always be motivated is not going to work. It's impossible. If we were always motivated and always on that like a surge, we would not be okay. It would be bad for our brains. It would be bad for us. It'd be too much. We'd be overwhelmed, overstimulated, right? So then how do we get the default wiring to easily and naturally do the things that we know we need to do to get the results we want, whatever it is? Make sense? So if you want to come to the class tomorrow, I'll drop the link in here. It's free. I will be live. It's a vibe, and it's gonna create some shifts for sure. Okay, my loves, I will see you here next week, and I will see you tomorrow at the Stop Starting Over class if you have never come to it, and you are going to love it. All right. Love you guys so much. Have a beautiful rest of your day. Bye.